What's the most I'm turning into my parents moment for you? Finding myself excited to go to Lowe's. As a child I hated being dragged to that store. As an adult and new homeowner I totally get the appeal of buying power tools and gardening supplies to work on various home improvement projects. Answering stupid questions with stupid answers. I.e., family member, what should I do with this dirty nappy you just changed? The nappy bin is next to her. Me, put it in the fridge, we will eat it later. Edit, a nappy is a diaper. My mom used to find things for us in a minute after we had been looking for hours. My siblings and dad sometimes lose things and ask me to help because I always find it magically. I'm actually very excited about the mom touch to finding things. When I sit down and make a dad noise, arga. When I would get irrationally pissed off when I would come home at night and see my roommate left a spoon in the sink instead of just washing it real quick. I heard a loud noise and instantly got pissed off. I've always joked that my dad isn't really my father and I'm just a clone of my mom, I look like her. Laugh like her. Same mannerisms etc. Then I got the exact same health issues that she has. At the exact same age they began for her. Over the course of college. I went from milk and sugar in my coffee to straight black with an espresso shot. I went from ketchup on a lot of things to simply salt and pepper. The sweet tooth turned into a salty, savory tooth. This happened yesterday. Background, my mom and her fam are New York Jews. I was on my couch, enjoying the first episode of The Marvelous Ms. Maisel. About a 1950s New York Jewish woman who becomes a stand-up comic. I immediately thought, oh wow. My mom would love this. So I texted her to tell her to watch. Her response? Ha ha ha. Already watching episode 1 right now. My so and I were packing and getting ready to road trip to some family's house for Thanksgiving. As I was cleaning up the house my so said something along the lines of, "Don't worry about it. You can clean when we get home." I replied with, "I do not want to come home to a dirty house." At that point I realized I'm turning into my mother. My dad has a way worked himself to death. Now he's retired. When he comes over now as soon as he sits down on a couch he falls asleep within minutes. I'm noticing couches are starting to have the same affect on me. When I started turning off the thermostat after my roommates leave it on. My dad was always digging himself into holes with his dad jokes. But he's passed that shovel on to me. The realization was groundbreaking. My wife got a picture of me in shorts that didn't come to my knees. A white tee that I wore under my work shirt. Doing dishes. With my headphones in. Listening to a podcast. It was a wake-up call I needed. I repeat stories. Every time I go home to visit. I'll hear things from my dad that he's either told me by phone already or stories I've heard 100 times. I found that I have also started telling people about stories from my past that I've already told them. Convenient that I don't make up BS. Or I'd have to remember all my BS. Me complaining about my dad. Ship I'm just like my mom. Me complaining about my mom. Ship I'm just like my dad. I started enjoying looking at grocery ads for discounts and have 3 discount cards. I wake up. No alarm. Every day at 4 a.m. to get ready for work. Just sit up like clockwork at 4. Never thought I would get to this point. My dad used to come and stand behind the sofa wearing an apron whilst I was watching TV. And put his hands on his hips and watch a bit of whatever was on whilst he was waiting for something to cook. I now do exactly the same thing in my flat with my girlfriend when I'm cooking and she's watching TV. Edit, I get it. You don't like that I used whilst. I'm British. I can only apologize for my nationality. I fell asleep at the movie theater. When me and my first girlfriend broke up. After telling myself I wasn't going to turn into my parents. We broke up because I did all the wrong things my parents do. My dad was a fairly tall guy. I used to hate walking with him when I was about 4/5 because he'd take giant steps and I had to basically jog everywhere while he dragged my hand. My son is now 4 and I caught myself doing that exact thing about 2 months ago. Now I walk slower. When I went from, oh hey this restaurant has live music. Cool, to, damn it, look at them setting up a drum kit. It's going to be too loud. I can't hear. When we're together. We answer people with the exact same answers. My 3-year-old told me as I turned on the TV, "Don't turn on the news, Dad." I 100% remember saying that to my parents. As I stared into the mass of various saved rubber bands and twist ties. I washed out the hummus container to save in case I needed it someday. I went mushroom picking with my friend a couple of months ago. We ended up meeting my dad and granddad also mushroom picking. I'm Polish for clarification, and mushroom picking is like a national sport here. Edit, for you guys wondering, I mostly pick Kirky chanterelles. Having children, the ship that I've said has totally been ship, my mom used to say. As a middle-aged male, I am turning into my mother and it terrifies me. Example, I swear to God if I have to go in your room to clean it, it's all going into a garbage bag and being donated to kids that will appreciate it. While driving in my car, I will put my arm out to protect the passenger if I suddenly stop, even though they are wearing a seat belt, just like my mom. As the passenger in the front seat, I will step on the brake, even though there is no pedal. The old fake brake. Just like my mom does. I realized I talk exactly like my father. I use the same speech patterns and I don't get to the point, which annoys me as well as anybody listening. My dad will fall asleep just about anywhere. Especially if he sits in recliner. So after I got my first full-time job out of college, I got home and me and my roommate were gonna watch a new episode of some show. I fell asleep in our recliner in less than 10 minutes. I woke up after the show ended and my roommate was like, "Yeah, you were out," and snored a little. Growing old alone, betrayed and bitter, family tradition. Ate at an expensive restaurant and for a sec considered how much better and cheaper it would have been if I made the meal at home. I always thought my father was a bit of a prude when it came to turning lights off in the house. Then I moved into my own place and my GF and friends kept leaving the lights on. And now that I pay my own power bill, I always have to stop myself from screaming, "Who left the lights on? Do I look like I am made of money? I am my father's son." Edit, spelling. My 10-year-old nephew let me win a video game cause he felt bad for me. Like I did to my dad 25 years ago on Super Nintendo. Easy. Walking around turning off light switches complaining about waste of electricity. The first time I told my kids to shut the door. We aren't heating the outside. I finally get why they said it too. It costs money to heat, cool the house. The moment I saw a high school picture of me. Turns out it was my dad's high school picture. I'm identical to my father and it's annoying as can be. So I'm at IHOP one day. Already finished with breakfast. On my second cup of coffee. And the waiter comes with the bill. As I pull out my debit card to pay it, I put my wallet away and think to myself, "Just let me sit here and enjoy my coffee." Which is a phrase that my mother has used so many times at breakfast that she could patent it. I'll admit it does feel nice to just relax and enjoy it instead of rushing out the door as soon as you're done. Now it's something I do routinely. Edit, indeed I realize I can pay the bill and not leave immediately. It's just this one moment I vividly recall not doing so. Also, I probably should have mentioned that the town I live in is pretty small. And IHOP is usually quite dead most of the time. Otherwise I wouldn't take it upon myself to make people wait for a table while I'm just there sipping coffee.